days away from the United States Supreme Court issuing its most looked forward to decision of the session. Of course, President Trump's immunity from prosecution, the broader ruling of presidential immunity, that is, according to Fox News, going to happen any minute now. And you know it's imminent because they brought Brett Baier in. If and when that does happen and they go to a reporter on the ground who actually has the decision, we'll probably break into Fox News coverage. I am following along on Twitter, formerly known as X. Wait, that's the other way around. I can't stop calling it Twitter. I'm sorry. I know every time I pop it up, it's X. It hasn't been called Twitter in quite some time. I'm a creature of habit, which is why when the escalator malfunctioned at American Family Field on Saturday, I had the tweet written out as Miller Park. Old habits, man. Welcome to another busy broadcast week. It is 4th of July week here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Haven't decided if we're going to do all patriotic bumper music. That usually means a lot of John Philip Sousa. Probably tomorrow. I don't know. I don't feel like changing the bumper music right now. Also, since we do have breaking news and continued panic over Joe Biden, we have got a lot to get to. If you would like to join us as we try to achieve broadcast excellence, but more likely get broadcast competence, the phone number is 414-799-1130. You can reach us toll-free, 1-800-838-9476. Email me, dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show. And, of course, you can watch the show streaming live on X/Twitter, facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show, or on our YouTube channel, Dan O'Donnell or Dan O'Donnell Show. What you should search for, obviously subscribe, obviously sign up for notifications so you don't miss a live stream. All right. It seems like there's a lot of vamping going on Fox News right now. So they've got Turley. They've got Baier. We know this is going to happen. Trey Gowdy is there. They've got all the big guns. Do you think there would be a Supreme Court decision so big they bring back Tucker Carlson? Like they've got Bill O'Reilly back. By the way, Bill O'Reilly reported yesterday, going way out on a limb, that Biden, the decision has already been made. Biden's going to drop out. The White House just isn't sure when they're going to tell everybody. They don't know how this decision is going to be handled, but the decision has been made at the exact same time. And I love Bill. Please don't misunderstand. I have been on Bill O'Reilly's show when he was on Fox News. I've been on his No Spin News. He's been on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Big fan of Bill O'Reilly's. But at the exact moment he's reporting this yesterday, the New York Times is reporting that Biden's family is urging him to stay in the race. Lady Macbeth, a.k.a. Dr. Jill Biden. I think I'm going to start calling her First Lady Macbeth. How about that? First Lady Macbeth is so desperate to cling to power that, of course, she's going to. And Hunter Biden realizes that as soon as Joe drops out of the race, the Biden family has nothing left to sell. You can't sell access to a former president, okay? You can sell access to a vice president. You can sell access to a guy who's going to be president. But as the Clinton Foundation found out, as it shuts its doors just a couple of months after it becomes obvious Hillary Clinton is never going to be president, if you're doing influence peddling, you have to have some influence to peddle. So, of course, they want this guy to stay in the race. And, folks, I'm going to expand on this point in the 10 o'clock hour. Democrats are essentially playing fantasy football right now. When it comes to replacing a presidential candidate at this late stage of the game, it's almost impossible. You need upwards of $1 billion to win the presidency. $1 billion. Billion with a B. Biden can't just transfer that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that he's amassed over the past 3 years to anybody. Most of the war chest would be able to fall to Kamala Harris. But as I've said for years now, Democrats have a massive Kamala Harris problem. If she was remotely competent or likable, this wouldn't even be a discussion right now. The decision would have been made. Biden would have been a one-term president. He would have announced at the beginning of the campaign cycle, roughly a year ago, that he, for the good of the country, was deciding he's not going to run again. Now, last time this happened, an incumbent decided that he wasn't going to run was 1968, when LBJ said he wasn't going to run. You know what happened in that general election? It was a Republican landslide. Richard Nixon absolutely trounced Hubert Humphrey. Democrats are fearful of that exact same scenario, and Humphrey was actually popular and well-liked. Nobody likes Kamala Harris, not Democrats, not independents, certainly not Republicans. It's a massive Kamala Harris problem. So Democrats are essentially playing fantasy candidate here. They've got all of these West Wing scenarios, and I'm telling you, folks, the worst thing that happened to liberal politics, possibly in the last 30 years, wasn't the dramatic radicalization. They were always sort of on that slow march to left-wing totalitarian communism. The worst thing that happened to them was the West Wing, because it gave them this insane idea of what politics is and this insane sense of self-importance, that they were all doing Aaron Sorkin walk-and talks in the halls of Congress, and that you can just sort of have these insane scenarios where the governor of California just sort of swoops in and saves the entire country from the tyrannical Donald Trump. Not going to happen. In fantasy football, you can trade Patrick Mahomes for a wide receiver. In real football, it's not nearly that easy. But I want to focus on one thing that you haven't heard over the past 4 days of Democrat panic, and it is abject panic over Joe Biden. You've heard a lot about Biden should drop out of the race, how Biden just isn't cut. The New York Times editorial board got together and said Biden needs to drop out. That debate performance was so disastrous, it was so painfully apparent that he can't possibly win. He needs to drop out for the good of the country. He needs to drop out to save democracy. Democrats are saying Biden can't be allowed to continue this race. We will lose. We will lose to Donald Trump, a fate worse than anything imaginable. What have you not heard over the past 4 days? What's that, Producer Dave? No mention of Donald Trump, although that is part of it. Biden should drop out of the race for the good of the country. Nope. Should we do this as an old Charlie Sykes insight check? All right, let's open up the phones. What are Democrats not talking about as they panic about Biden dropping out of the race, as they panic about Biden losing the election? What has not even been mentioned? 414-799-1130. That is the adventknows.com talk and text line. You can also reach us toll-free 1-800-838-9476. It's actually kind of remarkable and at the same time terrifying and revealing about what Democrats actually care about. What isn't being mentioned? It's actually kind of amazing that it hasn't been. They're terrified of Trump winning the election. They're terrified of Biden not being physically or mentally able to run for president again. What are they not talking about? Let's see. Who is going to be his replacement? No, we've got a number of texts. Dan, it's President Jill. Why is nobody talking about that? Who's going to be his replacement? Oh, they've speculated plenty about that. Producer Dave seems to think it's going to be J.B. Pritzker. I would guess it would be Gavin Newsom, but I'm of the opinion that it is just far too difficult. And I'll explain why Wisconsin could, in fact, be the thing that keeps Joe Biden in the race. Let's go to Paul in Manitowoc. You're on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Paul, what are Democrats not talking about?
They are not talking about replacing Joe Biden with Kamala Harris.
Well, that is true. They're not. But that's not what I'm talking about, Paul. That's a very good guess, though. Let's go to Wendy in Brookfield. Wendy, you're on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Good morning, my friend Dan. What they're not talking about is if he can't run for president, how can he be president?
That is it exactly, Wendy. How is this? This has boggled my mind. They don't seem to care that there is a man who is unfit to run for president, that the New York Times editorial board is urging him to drop out for the good of the country. We all saw that the man is unfit to run for president. Does that not logically follow that he is unfit to be president? Democrats clearly don't care about that. They have no actual concern that the man who they are telling us openly, and they have spent 4 days telling us, Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid, basically the entire staff except Jen Psaki of MSNBC. Jen apparently is willing to go down with the good ship Biden. Every single one of them is telling us Biden is unfit to run for president. He needs to step down. Donald Trump will. This proves all they care about is winning. All they care about is clinging to power. They don't care about the actual administration of government. They don't care if they have a figurehead president. This is basically a tacit admission, if not an open, forceful admission, whether or not they realize it, that they understand and are perfectly fine with a president who's not actually president. If they don't have one open concern about the fact that a mentally enfeebled man, who they are admitting is mentally enfeebled, can't run for president, he can't be president. This is about as revealing as anything could possibly be about the left. All they care about is clinging to power. They don't care about the actual governance of the United States of America because that's not actually done by the president. It hasn't been done by the president. Did you notice how Biden was always a buffoon? He was always corrupt, but he was never radical left. He gets in, and all of a sudden, he is so far to the left of even Obama that it was a dramatic pivot. All of a sudden, Biden, who sounded like a war hawk, a border hawk, is opening up the border, and there are 10,000 illegal immigrants from all over the world streaming in per day. Biden, who authored the nationwide crime bill in 1994, authored it, is suddenly down with the defund the police, decriminalize crime movement. Biden, who has long said he is a staunch Catholic and that his faith guides his work in government, he has said this for his entire political, is suddenly down with all manner of sexual deviance and perversion. Really? Really? Yes, we need to have a drag queen, a chicken in every pot, and a drag queen in every kindergarten classroom. Really? That's Joe Biden? No, it wasn't. It never has been, and they just spent a weekend admitting it. Because they don't care who's running the country, because it's obviously not Biden, it's them. And they, the people who you will never know, the people whose names you will never hear, who are really pulling the levers of power in this country, they're the ones who are standing in the way of replacing Biden. Do you think they want a headstrong 50-something with his own ideas about governance like Gavin Newsom? Do you think they want to deal with Kamala Harris and the future or what might be unburdened by what has been, or whatever ridiculous canned line that she constantly uses, By the way, look up Kamala unburdened by what has been. There are so many montages of her saying the exact same thing for 10 minutes straight. Every speech she has ever. We see what can be unburdened by what has been. She thinks this is some incredibly profound line, and it means absolutely nothing. It is the definition of word salad. Look it up. Do you think they want to deal with Kamala Harris standing in the way of the far left objectives that they have for this country? Of course not. It's not just Biden's family, and all the news on Sunday was Biden's family is standing in the way. They're telling him to stay and stay in this race. It's not just a logistical problem. You've got to push out all of the people who are actually running this country, who are actually the power behind the throne. If you watched Game of Thrones, right? Tommen Baratheon, or Joffrey Baratheon, the kid who is just this awful monster. And I feel bad for the actor who played Joffrey because everybody hated Joffrey. But this guy is like just an incredibly nice guy. He's kind, he's unassuming, he's self-effacing. But he is forever known as Joffrey. And like people will come up to him and just like, you suck, not realizing that Joffrey was not the real power. It was his father, Tywin Lannister. Anytime you had throughout medieval history a king who was not yet of age, you would have the king die and his 10-year-old son would take over. They had a regency, right? This is what we have. We have a regency where the king's privy council is actually running the country because not that the king is too young, but rather he's too old. He's too infirm. However, we are starting to see the narrative shift yet again. Now, Democrats are going right on back to their fallback position when it comes to Joe Biden, gaslighting. Nancy Pelosi leading the charge. We'll get to the audio sound bites of her coming up next here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Hey, Dan O'Donnell here for the Lynch family of dealerships. Over the last 75 years, the Lynch family has understood the value of a relationship with their own customers, their employees, and also their community. That's just one of the reasons they've been awarded a top workplace award for the 5th consecutive year. Happy employees provide top-level service, and if you're tired of the same old car buying experience and want to be treated like family, let them show you the Lynch difference. With Lynch certified, every qualified vehicle comes with peace of mind in the form of a 3-month, 3,000-mile certified warranty. Lynch Protected covers your windshield, road hazards, and paint for 1 year. With locations in Burlington, Kenosha, West Bend, and 3 stores in the McWanago community, Lynch is easy and convenient to find. Come and get treated like family and experience the Lynch difference, or find them online at shoplynch.com.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Have you heard that real estate commissions are coming down? Ask your 6% broker if they're still charging 6%. Spoiler alert, they are. Before you overpay to sell your home, Google Redefined Realty. We have 15 to 20 agents, 3 local offices, West Bend, Waukesha, and Pewaukee, and over 500 5-star Google reviews. At just 3.99%, you can sell your home for a fair price and get the professional full-service MLS representation that you deserve. Don't pay 6% in such a hot housing market. It's just 3.99% at Redefined Realty for the same thing.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it will be worth less than $700,000. That's the effect of out-of-control government spending shrinking your hard-earned dollars, and it's why central banks and savvy investors are buying gold. For thousands of years, gold has withstood war, famine, and economic downturns. It's been a stalwart hedge against inflation and hyperinflation. And the company I, Buck Sexton, trust to help you diversify into gold is Birch Gold Group. For 2 decades, Birch Gold has helped concerned Americans convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold, too.
To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, text PROTECT to the number 989898 to protect your hard-earned savings today.
Congressman Glenn Grothman weighing in, sent me a text, listening to the show. We love you, Glenn. Saying, hey, as I recall, I was in 8th grade. Nixon only barely beat Hubert Humphrey. And that is true. In the popular vote, it was very close. It was within 1%. In the Electoral College, though, Nixon actually won with about 301 electoral votes. It was a landslide. He won by more than 100 electoral votes, primarily because, and this is one of the big reasons that there was no Democrat-Republican switch on the issue of civil rights, as the left has been claiming for years. I debunked this very thoroughly years ago in a post that apparently is still making the rounds on Reddit. George Wallace, who ran as a Dixiecrat, remember, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. That was the Democrat position, but they recognized that electorally they couldn't sustain it. Wallace actually won 46 electoral votes. He won 5 southern states. Those 5 states are now Republican, but primarily because they saw what had happened to the Democrat Party, which had gotten increasingly radicalized over the hippie movement and the opposition to the Vietnam War. Nixon won in a landslide, and the Republican dominance in the South was solidified by the Reagan presidency. In 1984, Reagan won every single state except for Minnesota, his opponent Mondale's home state. I mean, that's the trouncing the likes of which we'll probably never see again in this country. However, Republicans, Democrats never, the old Southern racists never became Republicans. They became Dixiecrats. They were still Democrats, but they wanted their segregation. So they went to George Wallace. And Wallace actually siphoned the South. The South was very Democratic in the civil rights era, basically until the Reagan Revolution had totally realigned American politics. The South then became staunchly Republican, although in the 1990s, when you had 2 Southern Democrats on the ticket in Bill Clinton and Al Gore, the South flipped back to Democrats. It wasn't as though there was this constant. And then, of course, George W. Bush, 9/11, all of that. I think the South is now permanently Republican. But just wanted to clear that up. And yes, any chance I get to talk about presidential electoral history, I will take. Speaking of which, from President Johnson to President Woodrow Wilson, which I think is the most direct parallel to Biden. Wilson's wife, Edith, who was significantly younger than him, after he had a stroke at the end of his presidency, essentially took over the duties of the presidency. We did an episode of Forgotten History on this some years ago. And don't worry, folks, we are plotting the return of Forgotten History. We have to get around the issue, as I think I've explained, with using music and podcasts. But I think we have a workaround. We are going to bring back Forgotten History. Edith Wilson, after her husband's stroke, essentially took over as president. She handled all access to Woodrow. She was the one who served as gatekeeper. Anyone who met with him didn't actually meet with him. They met with Edith, who then, quote unquote, took the notes to the president and he would sign. Everybody who met with Woodrow Wilson noticed that Wilson's signature changed after Edith Wilson became his gatekeeper / caregiver. This is what's going on with First Lady Macbeth, Dr. Jill Biden. She's essentially propping Joe up, but it's not as though she's actually running the country. What I think we've learned over the last 3.5 years is that all of the federal bureaucracy essentially runs runs itself. We saw that during the Trump era, too. How could Trump's own agencies turn against him? The Department of Justice, the FBI, how are they weaponized against the sitting president? Because every 4 years or every 8 years, there's a new attorney general and top attorney general staff who are appointed by the attorney general. The bureaucrats never leave. Back in the early days of the presidency, in fact, for a long time before the Civil Service Act, presidents would essentially fire the entire bureaucracy and reward their loyalists with political patronage, jobs in the federal government. But it ensured that the government would be loyal to the president. Now we don't have that. We've got a federal bureaucracy that's 95% Democrat, 4 million people strong, and they basically just run things. We do now have a ruling in President Trump's immunity case. It is a 6-3 ruling. And I'll tell you what, folks, I'm going to just briefly peruse the ruling so I can report on it accurately. I don't want, there was one famous issue, was the Obamacare ruling, where the initial reporting was that Obamacare was overturned when it was actually upheld. I'm not saying I don't trust Shannon Bream, who is a great reporter on Fox News. I just want to read the ruling myself. So I will do that, and we will be back to break the news for you. Oh, they're saying Trump's immune? Oh, man, I'm going to get the details. That's big.
Hi, I'm Mike Madsen, owner of Color Wheel Painting. I know you think you have a lot of choices when it comes to hiring a painter, like your hungover nephew who is home from college, or those guys who did your neighbor's exterior. Maybe you call a big sort of professional franchise and see which of their 100 subcontractors gets randomly assigned to your project. But the truth is, when it comes to painting, there's only one logical great choice: Color Wheel Painting. Color Wheel has a small team, despite the fact that, yes, we're on the radio. We have geek-level industry knowledge, specific processes, and outstanding products. Color Wheel has a system that from start to finish is personalized and guaranteed to make you proud of every dollar you invest in your home. We are the ones you need. Trust Color Wheel for interior painting, trim painting, wallpaper hanging, cabinet painting and refinishing, and even more. That's Color Wheel Painting. Remodelandpaint.com.
I was talking to a nice fellow the other day that told me he was considering a high-end asphalt roof over a permanent metal roof. I could hardly contain myself. Just exactly what the heck is a high-end asphalt roof? Hi, this is Jack again from Metal Roofing Systems. High-end asphalt shingles is like saying you can have better athlete's foot. Folks, you can put lipstick on a pig, but you still have a... Well, you get my drift. Your home is likely your most valuable asset. Why protect it with a temporary fix that looks faded, old, and tired after 8 to 10 years when you can have an absolutely gorgeous metal roof that saves energy and will be beautiful for decades? Our designer roof can look like split cedar shakes or slate, is available in many colors, and will save you a small fortune over time. For a free, no-obligation estimate, go to beautifulroofs.com or call Dana toll-free at 855-678-ROOF. Remember, beautifulroofs.com. Thank you.
Jay Weber here. If you're someone who's experiencing shoulder, spine, hip, knee, or musculoskeletal pain and a total joint replacement might be in your future, think Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Find them at orthowisconsin.com. At Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, their physicians are committed to providing the highest quality of joint care and specialize in same-day total joint replacements at their own ambulatory surgery center in Pewaukee. You can find them at orthowisconsin.com. orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference.
Hey, Sean Hannity here, talking with the only real estate agent in your market I recommend, Justin Hoffman with RE/MAX Lakeside. What programs or options do you have to help home sellers get what they want in today's market?
Sean, we've literally designed our entire business model around what sellers want. It starts with our guaranteed sale. We agree with a price, we agree on a deadline, and if we don't have it sold for the money the seller wants at the time frame they need, we step in and buy it for cash. We also offer instant offer. We come in, eliminate the marketing time, buy the property as is for cash, and close at whatever deadline or time frame the seller wants. We couple those two programs with our famous cancelable contract, whereas if you are not happy with what we're doing on the sales side of your property, you can fire us at any time and pay nothing.
Just go to wihomeeval.com. That's wihomeeval.com. Or just Google Team Hoffman and check out over 700 five-star reviews.
Have you heard the buzz? I'm not talking about the latest tabloid gossip. I'm referring to the buzz from the wires that feed your home's electrical power. That's the most important buzz of all. But when you don't hear the buzz, you're left powerless. Talk about a buzzkill. But I have some good buzz to share. Mr. Howland's Home Services can install a brand new, whole house backup generator directly into your electrical system. So if Mother Nature goes on a rampage, or if the grid has gridlock, you could still keep the lights lit, the fridge is fridging, Wi-Fiing, and your busy day buzzing. All because you listen to the good buzz about Mr. Howland's whole house generators. Don't wait until the buzz dies down. Keep the lights on and give Mr. Howland's Home Services a buzz today. Call 866-992-1717 or buzz on over to MrHowlandsHomeservices.com. If you want to stay buzzed, we can help.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it will be worth less than $700,000. That's the effect of out-of-control government spending shrinking your hard-earned dollars, and it's why central banks and savvy investors are buying gold. For thousands of years, gold has withstood war, famine, and economic downturns. It's been a stalwart hedge against inflation and hyperinflation. And the company Buck Sexton Trust, to help you diversify into gold is Birch Gold Group. For 2 decades, Birch Gold has helped concerned Americans convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold, too.
To learn more, text the word SECURE to 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, text SECURE to the number 989898 to protect your hard-earned savings today.
iHeartRadio is the exclusive audio home of NBC's coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics. It's the only way to listen to exclusive NBC play-by-play action of Team USA, plus NBC's top Olympic moments, original Summer Games podcasts, and live hourly updates from the games in Paris on the iHeart app and right here on this station. Be sure you have the free iHeart app, the exclusive audio home of NBC's coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics.
iHeartRadio.
Ladies and gentlemen, broadcast live to you and yours.
This is the Dan O'Donnell Show.
And we are following breaking news. The United States Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision released just a couple of minutes ago, has ruled that the President of the United States has absolute immunity for all official acts done in furtherance of executing his, executive authority. Now, this does not mean, and folks, I actually kind of thought that this ruling was coming, because this, I believe, is why the left has been going after the Supreme Court so vigorously, especially Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. They're going to say that this is an invalid decision from a compromised court. Look, 3 of the justices who ruled on this were appointed by Trump, so of course they're going to side with him, and Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito are so ethically compromised because of upside-down flags and vacations with a rich friend that they can't rule on this. This is, however, the absolutely correct ruling on constitutional law grounds. If the president, under Article 2 of the Constitution, which establishes the executive branch, if the president, as head of the executive branch, is not absolutely immune from criminal prosecution for any act undertaken in furtherance of undergoing the duties of the president, then we don't have a presidency at all. If, in fact, a rogue court or a rogue Justice Department, as we saw, has happened, if it criminalizes something that is an official act, and folks, I know the left cannot wrap their brains around this, and it's actually kind of stunning that they can't, seeing as they spent how many years telling us that Russia hacked the 2016 election? questioning the results of a presidential election, calling for an investigation by his own Justice Department into potential wrongdoing in a federal presidential election is absolutely within the scope of the official duties of a president. Think about it this way. Let's say there was ample evidence that Trump stole the 2024 election. Think about it. November. Trump gets elected in a landslide, but there's ample evidence that, let's see, the voting machines were hacked, that Dominion voting machines actually were hacked this time. And Joe Biden launched an investigation. And it was discovered that, there might have been some things that were not exactly on the up and up, but there wasn't outcome determinative fraud. Could Joe Biden then be prosecuted by the incoming president, Donald Trump? You would think that that's banana republic stuff, wouldn't you, lefties? Well, guess what? That's exactly what has been going on. In its ruling, and by the way, I am going to hereby call on the Dan O'Donnell Show for all court rulings to include a syllabus/executive summary. Can we get together? I think I can unite the country because these rulings are 90, 100 pages long, and they go into very, very deep discussion of the constitutional issues at play here, which are significant. And I will read the entire ruling just to kind of get a sense of what the justification was. But there is a fantastic 2-page, 3-page syllabus here that just sort of outlines all of the key issues. The baseline ruling is that when the president exercises his authority to, quote, act necessarily, stemming from either an act of Congress or the Constitution itself. For example, when the president enforces, and people don't realize this, the president doesn't actually make the law. The president faithfully executes the laws that are written by Congress and reviewed by the Supreme Court. That's the basic separation of powers doctrine. We don't have one all-powerful authority, although the left has sort of thought that the president and really the bureaucracy, the deep state, if you will, holds all the power here. The Supreme Court actually, in reversing the Chevron deference, you've probably heard the word Chevron thrown about, and I apologize with all of the Joe Biden dementia issues here. I haven't had a chance to go in. That Chevron, getting rid of Chevron deference is a huge, very consequential. It's going to have much longer lasting impact, and it's better for conservatism and frankly better for the United States of America than anything having to do with this current election, because it basically declaws the regulatory state and hands a whole lot of power back to Congress, which has sort of had it stripped from it in the age of the imperial presidency since about I would say starting with about Teddy Roosevelt. In any event, when the president exercises his authority under the laws of the United States or the Constitution itself, Congress cannot act on and courts cannot examine the president's actions. It follows that an act of Congress, either a specific one targeted at the president or generally applicable one, may not criminalize the president's actions within his exclusive constitutional power. Neither may the courts adjudicate a criminal prosecution that examines such presidential actions. The court thus concludes that the president is absolutely immune from criminal prosecution for conduct within his exclusive sphere of constitutional authority. Not all of the president's official acts fall within his conclusive and preclusive authority. The reasons that justify the president's absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for acts within the scope of his exclusive constitutional authority do not extend to conduct in areas where his authority is shared with Congress. Now, that's a long way of saying official acts, President can't be prosecuted while in office or after he leaves office. In other words, it can. My guess is that the Trump January 6th prosecution, the court remanded the decision down to a lower court to comply with its decision. They're going to have no choice. They're going to have to throw out the Trump January 6th case. It's clear there's no argument that a president calling for an investigation into an election that is clearly within the scope of the president's duties as head of the executive branch. It's actually kind of amazing. All throughout Trump's presidency, liberals behaved as though he didn't actually have the power and authority of the president, which he did. My guess is also criminalizing the president taking copies of classified documents, which has always been allowed, because the presidents, unless you're Bill Clinton, you don't stash them in a sock drawer with your Hustler magazines. There are typically secure areas in place. It might not necessarily be a SCIF, but the president has so much Secret Service protection after he leaves office that the National Archives had always allowed the president to take material, notes and such, that he would need to, say, write a presidential memoir. Presidents would take mementos of things. It was always allowed. Pretending that all of a sudden this is criminal, when this would too fall within the scope of an official duty. It's not as though the president was stealing documents so he could share them with Russia or whatever insane conspiracy theory lefties glommed onto in the wake of the Trump raid, which, by the way, happened coincidentally just before the 2022 midterm elections. Weird how that timing worked out. There's long-standing FBI policy that they won't do anything, 90 days out from an election? The Trump raid happened exactly 91 days out from the midterm election of 2022. So weird, the timing on that one. But what the Supreme Court is clarifying is that the President of the United States, if he is doing things that are authorized by Congress, or he is authorized to act by the actual Constitution, okay, the president does have powers that are specifically enumerated in the Constitution. Congress has further outlined things that he can do. Moreover, if he is complying with an act of Congress to say, well, here's a perfect example. Here is an absolutely perfect example. President Obama droned 2 American citizens. One of them was the son of someone who is reputed to be an Al-Qaeda leader. He droned him. He killed him. Could President Obama be tried for murder? If the Trump immunity case goes the other way, yes, he could. Donald Trump could have gotten in office and said, we are trying President Barack Obama for the murder of the Al-Qaeda guy's kid. He killed an American citizen with a drone strike. But because it was in furtherance of a declared war on terror, which I still have my issues with presidents essentially waging war without official declarations from Congress, which has been happening for the past, 40, 50 years now. In any event, the president was operating in furtherance of the United States' interest in eradicating terrorism. President Obama, therefore, was immune from prosecution, even though he essentially murdered a United States citizen without a trial. He's immune from prosecution. Trump is too. Questioning the results of an election, it is protected First Amendment speech, okay? This is another thing that liberals just absolutely cannot get through their thick skulls. Lying is constitutionally protected speech. If it wasn't, by God, arrest all of MSNBC. I mean, what are we doing here? Do we just pretend that every American except one orange one doesn't have the protections of the Constitution, that 330 million people enjoy the protections of the Constitution? One does not. All right, I'm kind of going off on a rant here, and we do have to get to the unhinged liberal of the day. We'll also chat with Dave Spano to see how markets are moving in the wake of Biden's disastrous performance. All of that coming up.
More of the Dan O'Donnell Show
is next. Hi, it's Jerry Bott. And if you're someone with chronic back pain, listen up. I have really good news and a number you can call to get some relief. If your back pain is due to a disc problem, there's a non-surgical procedure that can help discs actually grow and recover. It's called Disc Seal. This FDA-approved biologic repairs damaged discs with a simple injection. Takes about 20 minutes, minimally invasive, no surgery, no fusion, no metal rods, and no long recovery time. Best of all, Disc Seal works. Pain relieved, flexibility restored, success rate over 80%. Chronic back pain is miserable. This could be your chance to play golf again, do some gardening, ride your bike, get your life back. It's Disc Seal powered by Longevity Health 360. Call for a consultation, absolutely free, 262-200-2700, or visit WIDiscSeal, that's SEEL.com. Disc Seal powered by Longevity Health 360.
Tune in every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. as Ellenbecker Investment Group highlights local people and organizations who are using their time and their talents to give back to make a difference in our community. Milwaukee's philanthropic community. Visit ellenbecker.com to learn more.
They used water to restore your wood? No wonder you need us. Well, don't worry. This time we'll do it right. You see, water raises the grain of wood, warps it, and opens splits and glue joints. It's the enemy of finished furniture. And that's why we only remove your finish chemically. It's not the cheap way, but it is the best way. For the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com. If you have a great piece and want to see if it's worth restoring, of course we can send someone out there. And no, we won't charge for the visit. We've been doing that for almost 50 years, along with pickups and deliveries, to get the beautiful piece that we restore back in your home safe and sound. And we'll guarantee your satisfaction to boot. So if you're looking for the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. We're no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts.
One day, a 3.5 to 3.9% real estate commission structure will be commonplace. But for now, it's not the case. So you can pay 6% for what we can do for about half that, or you can pay less for full service. For some, it's hard to believe, but for our customers, they know it to be true. I'm Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, and our agents understand the meaning of great customer service. And you'll see they're the cream of the crop. So don't pay more than you have to. Pay less for full service with Benefit Realty. Benefit-realty.com. The reviews are in, and folks seem to like how we do business. And what's more, they can't get over the level of service and real estate expertise they get for far less than what they'd pay an agent from a big-name company. At 3.5 to 3.9%, you'll save up to nearly 50% in commission by choosing a Benefit Realty full-service agent. Everything they do, we do, for up to 50% less. There's no catch. I'm Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, where you pay less for full service. See our success stories at benefit-realty.com.
When Home Depot couldn't help him with an off-size door jamb, they told him to come here. And we had it, with multiple options to choose from. It's true, Lisbon Storm Screen and Door is the best place to go for your unusual size window and door needs. And of course for your custom orders. We're known for all things windows and doors. And that goes for the knowledge you'll find here too, which by the way, comes at no extra charge. It's been like this for over 60 years, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. You might call us old-fashioned, but the way I see it, when it comes to pleasing our customers, if it's not broke, there's no need to fix it. We're all things windows and doors, and when it comes to that, we're definitely your clear choice for more. This is David Wilhelm. There's no need to go to those big box stores hoping they'll have what you need, because we have what you need for all your window and door replacement or repair needs at Lisbon Storm Screen and Door. Easy to find on 51st and Lisbon.
Your clear choice for more. Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Find out more at lisbonstorm.com.
Zero Foxtrot isn't just a brand, it's a way of life. Founded and operated by veterans, Zero Foxtrot's unique apparel and gear echoes the grit of the warrior culture. Zero Foxtrot dedicates itself to producing content, honoring the sacrifices of forgotten heroes of the past, and connecting history to the present. Embark on a journey with Zero Foxtrot today at zerofoxtrot.com. It's not merely our products, it's about the ethos that we embody. Rugged, resilient, and timeless.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Conservative thought and deep constitutional analysis, I dare say that you will not get anywhere else on the radio or TV. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. We do have some fun, too. Each and every day, we name the unhinged liberal of the day.
Make me crazy.
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany. Make me crazy.
All white people are racist.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is dangerous because he's evil. America is in over.
Today's unhinged liberal of the day is one of the innumerable liberals making excuses for Joe Biden's utterly disastrous debate performance on Thursday night. But unlike other liberals, the unhinged liberal believes that Biden was just over-prepared, that he just prepared too much. James Clyburn, member of Congress, on Meet the Press yesterday.
For him to go into preparation, and what I've been calling this a classic example of preparation overload. I just think that there should have been much less preparation for this debate and much more activism in his job.
Yes, James, Biden he was just so prepared that he looked like a corpse and acted like he had no idea where he was. James Clyburn, your unhinged liberal of the day. After 4 straight days of Democrats openly panicking and all but demanding that Joe Biden drop out for the good of the country, it does appear that Donald Trump has to be considered a prohibitive and probably massive favorite to win the presidency. How does that affect the markets? We bring in a man who is already counting his $100 from the bet we made a long time ago that Biden would be replaced. Dave Spano of Annex Wealth Management. Dave, do you have Venmo, Zelle, Cash App? How can I get you your money?
Yeah, I think hang on to it for right now. I don't think he's going to leave. Obviously we know that he's got the the delegates in his pocket, so he's going to have, or Jill is going to have to tell him that he's not going to do this anymore. So hang on to that $100. Not quite sure that I've won that yet, but the fact is that we talked about it now for 6 months that the Democrats are obviously very good at politics, and they're not going to just watch a thrashing. But as you say, what does it do with the stock market? And so the Trump portfolio, if you will, certainly has done very well in the last couple of days. But if you want to say there's a coincident indicator, it's the Chevron case came through at the same time. So, Dan, if you want to explain to your listeners what that is and why some of these Trump stocks are rallying as well.
Well, shorthand, because we only have a minute, I would probably take, because it's me, I would take like 15 minutes to explain Chevron deference. That going away essentially says that regulators can't just sort of make it up as they go based on some statutory authority that might or might not exist. In essence, what the ruling did was gut the regulatory state within the executive branch of government and say, no, if you as a regulator are going to do something, you need to point to a specific act of Congress that allows you to do it.
And so that's the reason why you're seeing companies with deregulation basket, if you will, because of this. You're going to have tariffs, of course, if Trump does win. You talk about Mexican stocks or Mexico stocks, stocks from China, energy stocks, financial firms. Those are the ones that have been rallying, and those ones will also do well, Dan, in a Trump presidency. And opposite of those, EVs, consumer stocks, green energy are not doing well. Make sure, obviously, don't invest your politics, but make sure that your portfolio is aligned. This is the time to take an inventory and make sure it's lined up.
And you can do that, coincidentally enough, with a free wealth metric available only at annexwealth.com. Dave and I will be recording our weekly podcast, The Difference, which you can get on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts. When we come back, more on the Trump immunity ruling, more on Democrats panicking over Biden, and more fun here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Show.
News that's factual, fair, and balanced. This is continuing coverage on News Talk 1130 WISN, Milwaukee.
Good morning, I'm Ted Allen. Several people were injured after an escalator at American Family Field malfunctioned. Following Saturday's game between the Brewers and Chicago Cubs, the Brewers say the escalator moving fans from the terrace level to the loge level of the ballpark began to move at an increased speed. Greg Braggs tells Fox 6 News what he experienced at the scene.
The whole thing shook and made like a noise. The entire thing just broke loose and started running downhill like a roller coaster, essentially.
11 people were injured, with 6 taken to hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. A shock to Racine County Friday as its county executive, Jonathan Delagrave, died unexpectedly at the age of 51. Delagrave was elected county exec in April of 2015. He was re-elected in 2019. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers called Delagrave an exceptional leader and devoted public servant, while Racine State Senator Van Wangard said Delagrave was like a little brother to him. County Board Chair Tom Kramer will serve as interim county executive. Thousands of Jewish ultra-Orthodox men clashed with Israeli police in central Jerusalem yesterday. That was during a protest against a Supreme Court order for them to begin enlisting for military service. That landmark decision could lead to the collapse of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's governing coalition as Israel wages war in Gaza. Checking the WISN Sports Scoreboard after taking 2 of 3 from the Cubs this weekend, the Brewers head to Denver tonight to begin a series with the Colorado Rockies. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Ted Allen on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Each day there's a sliver of time when you can almost breathe freely, and you feel better when you can. But you know that eventually that sliver of time closes, along with your nose. It puts a damper on your day every day. So you pop a pill or you take a spray to try to get that relief back. But it's always short-lived. And all the while in your efforts to give yourself relief, you may be making your nasal breathing problems worse. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula, and a simple in-office procedure from Advent called balloon sinuplasty could be the fast and convenient answer to your breathing triangle problems. Advent has been a leader in this procedure, which can be hard to find elsewhere. It's simple, there's little to no downtime, and it really can be life-changing.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Breathe well with simple solutions. Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
Results may vary.
Here's the latest forecast from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Could see a little patchy fog this morning, otherwise sunshine today and warming to the low 70s. Light southeast breeze at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. We stay dry but increasingly cloudy tonight at 62. Rain arrives tomorrow. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Rob Haswell.
This report is sponsored by Unbeep Your Life Show.
Hey guys, it's your favorite psychotherapist, Anita Astley. Join me every Sunday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. and let me help you unbleep your life and relationships. An hour dedicated to helping you untangle some of those relationship knots on News Talk 1130 WISN. Don't miss out, friends.
I'm Brett Ochtenhagen, owner of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services. I frequently speak with people who are unhappy with their landscaping and they're unsure how to turn things around. Well, here are 4 tasks that will make a remarkable improvement to dull landscaping. Number 1, thick, lush green grass. We need food and water to be healthy. Our lawn care programs and irrigation systems provide your grass with everything it needs to thrive. Number 2, pruning. Regular, technically correct pruning keeps plants strong and vibrant. Number 3, plant bed edging and a fresh layer of bark mulch. There's nothing better than the look of crisp bed edges and fresh mulch. Number 4, landscape lighting. You finally have your landscaping looking its best. A landscape lighting system lets your landscaping come alive after dark. So there you are, 4 landscaping tips that amplify the beauty of your home. Please call Seasonal Services at 262-392-3444 or look for us online at seasonalservices.com. CertaPro.com.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell here for CertaPro Painters. If you're like me, you do tend to spend a lot of time at home, and you may be noticing the scuffs and faded colors on your walls. Protect your home. Protect your investment with quality painting from CertaPro Painters. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated right here. Schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C, pro.com. When choosing a painting professional, the choice is simple. Choose happy. Choose CertaPro Painters.
Self-medicating with pills or sprays may make matters worse. Life-changing nasal breathing relief that can lead to much better sleep starts with a healthy breathing triangle.
In this week's Marketers Report, Angela Zepeda, CMO Hyundai Motor America, talks about audio storytelling.
People scratch their heads and say, why would you put your brand on a channel that doesn't show the sheet metal? But for us, it's about storytelling. That's driving a lot of brand awareness, but we can also drive a lot of intent.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the influencers, audiences, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
Zero Foxtrot isn't just a brand, it's a way of life. Founded and operated by veterans, Zero Foxtrot's unique apparel and gear echoes the grit of the warrior culture. Zero Foxtrot dedicates itself to producing content, honoring the sacrifices of forgotten heroes of the past, and connecting history to the present. Embark on a journey with Zero Foxtrot today at zerofoxtrot.com. It's not merely our products, it's about the ethos that we embody. Rugged, resilient, and timeless.
Our favorite four-letter word. Free. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
Be sure to listen to the Annex Wealth Management Investment Show Saturday mornings at 11 and Sunday afternoons at 1 on News Talk 1130 WISN. Annex provides its expertise to arm listeners with the knowledge and tools to invest wisely. Annex Wealth Management. Know the difference.
Smart speakers get a whole lot smarter when they're playing News Talk 1130 WISN. Just ask Alexa or Siri to play WISN Radio and bask in the glow of insight and enlightenment.
Trump said, we're going to win so much you may get tired of winning? The past 4 days have felt like nonstop wins, and I am not yet tired of winning. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. First, we get Joe Biden basically proving every single one of us correct, who has been saying for 3.5 years the man is in obvious cognitive decline, and the entire Democrat Party and their allies in the media are conspiring to cover up that fact. By the way, someday someone is going to win a Pulitzer Prize for reporting on the deep, multifaceted effort to pull the wool over the American people's eyes for effectively 5 years now, that there was clearly something going on with Biden, and every single Democrat with any modicum of power or authority or an audience kept it from you. First, we had that. Then the following day, the Supreme Court strikes a massive blow against the bloated bureaucratic and regulatory state by removing something known as Chevron deference in one of the biggest rulings that really, because it happened, because it was released the day after the worst debate performance, I think, in the history of presidential debates. This guy made Richard Nixon in 1960 look like a conquering hero. Then, today, the Supreme Court rules that President Trump can't be essentially prosecuted for acts done in official capacity, in his official capacity as president. Now, this seems like a no-brainer, But given the fact that we have had the absolute weaponization of the court system by the activist left over the last decade, it feels refreshing that there is still a bastion of judicial honesty and constitutional deference. It just happens to happen in only a select handful of courts. Fortunately for this country, the United States Supreme Court is still one of those. If you would like to join this foray into broadcast competence, give us a call, shoot us a text on the AdventNews.com talk and text line, 414-799-1130. Reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Email me, dod@iheartmedia.com, X, Facebook, YouTube. We are streaming on all of them. Democrats are not going to just be able to replace Joe Biden. They're not. Frankly, it is far more difficult than I think anyone realizes, and Wisconsin might be a big reason why. Wisconsin law has set the ballot. The ballot is once you gain access to the ballot, your name can only be removed from it if you die. Now, of course, the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and I'm sure the Wisconsin Supreme Court, because this would go well beyond WEC, it would go directly to the Wisconsin Supreme Court, would clearly rule to help Biden, to help the Democrats, whoever the candidate might be. My gut, though, says that Democrats are slowly realizing that they can't just play fantasy football and pull Biden. You can pull the quarterback in fantasy football. You're starting Jordan Love. He has a couple of bad games. Oh, well, you can just start his backup. Maybe you've got, I don't know, who would be a backup fantasy quarterback? Russell Wilson. Let's say Russell Wilson. You just insert him. No ramifications whatsoever. Well, in real football, that's a big decision, pulling your starting quarterback. Essentially, it would be like if the Packers didn't just bench Jordan Love. It would be like if they gave him his outright release. There are salary cap considerations. Could one of your competitors pick him up? Hey, we just committed a whole ton of money to Jordan Love. Do we really want to release this guy? It's not that easy. It's the same thing in a presidential race. You can't just replace the candidate and have everything happen magically that a Gavin Newsom or a J.B. Pritzker or a Gretchen Whitmer or whatever candidate who the American people does it. Go to a mall and ask 100 people who Gretchen Whitmer is. I guarantee you 90 of them will not know. It takes millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Yes, obviously the media would do its part and tell you that whatever Democrat that they name, whoever the replacement is the greatest politician who ever walked the face of the earth. Here's the other problem with this, though. By replacing Biden, Democrats, the media, everybody is admitting that they lied to you, that we put up a guy who is so incompetent, and we held this fact until the exact moment where we could no longer hide it, that the man is clearly mentally deficient. He cannot hold the job of president anymore. But now you can trust us on this guy or this gal. Okay, that's kind of a big ask. Moreover, the biggest problem that Democrats are going to face is probably going to be Biden himself, or more accurately stated, First Lady Macbeth. Coincidentally enough, do you know who is on the cover of Vogue magazine? The issue just dropped this morning. You promise you don't know. Who? Nope. First Lady Macbeth, Jill Biden. Coincidentally enough, this is a total coincidence because this story has been written and all of this, it happened long before the Thursday debate performance. She is on the cover of Vogue magazine, and it's actually kind of ridiculous. Part of this story, I didn't have a chance to read the cover story, obviously, because it just came out today. But it's all about her, essentially her lust for power. It says the levers of power are essentially intoxicating for her. This is how the piece opens, okay? If you want to know what power feels like, try to get yourself driven around in a motorcade. Flashing police chaperone lights form a perimeter as you blaze down an empty highway. Waiting cars backed up on entry ramps as you pass. It's as if the world is holding its breath for you. Also, rules don't apply. On a cool spring day, driving down suburban Minneapolis side streets, we run red lights and whip round curves so fast I can barely take in the commonplace American view. It's not Jill writing that, of course, but it's all about power. It's all about proximity to power, the trappings of power. And I think this is why I've taken to calling Jill Biden First Lady Macbeth, because she is the one who is essentially Edith Wilsoning her husband. She's the gatekeeper here. She's the one you've got to convince to give up the power. What happens when she does? The motorcades go away. The flashing police lights, they fade. You go back to Delaware with your aging husband, who you're probably going to have to get live-in care sooner rather than later. She doesn't want to do that. Hunter Biden, for essentially his entire post-naval career, has been selling access to his father. I'm willing to wager they were running this exact same scam when old Joe was in the Senate. You just didn't hear about it because he was shaking down businesses in Delaware. That goes away the second Biden says he's not running again. An even bigger barrier is going to be all of the president's men and women and nameless, faceless, pronoun people who are actually running the business of the presidency, who are actually doing the things that a president of the United States would normally do. Frankly, people ask, well, who's really running the country, Dan? I have no idea. That's pretty damn scary and has been for 3.5 years. With Trump, was there any doubt that Trump was actually running the country? With the sheer volume of cabinet secretaries that were fired, is there any doubt Trump writes his own tweets or now posts on Truth Social? He's clearly doing it all himself. With Biden, you don't know that. And you have got to take power away from every single one of those people who doesn't want to give it up. So to say nothing about just the intense difficulty that it is to replace a presidential candidate this late. Remember, when Lyndon Johnson dropped out, it was, I think, after the New Hampshire primary where he... Was it March of that year? Okay, it was, it was after one of the primaries where he almost lost. A sitting president almost lost a Democratic Party primary, and he realized it was over. He realized he wasn't going to win re-election, so he stepped aside. We're in July now. The convention is less than 2 months away. It's very difficult. And it's a unique scenario in which the sitting president isn't running against, let's say the nominee had been Ron DeSantis. It might be easier because Republicans would still have to introduce DeSantis to the American people. Is there one human being on earth, let alone the United States, who doesn't have an opinion of Donald Trump? He doesn't need to spend money introducing or reintroducing himself. He's in the news constantly. He's been covered more than Joe Biden has over the last 3.5 years, which I believe has also been by design. Not only does it try to demonize Trump before the American people and give Democrats and their allies in the media what they've always wanted. The media gets ratings because Trump is the enemy. He's like the Lord Voldemort to their Harry Potter, since, of course, Millennial and Generation Z libs have only one frame of reference. They can only make two analogies, remember. One to Hitler, two to Harry Potter. That's it. That's the extent of their imaginations. Now, what this also does, though, is solidify Trump's base, because Trump was able to tie the media to the Democrat Party. The media, just in calling for Biden to be replaced, has a massive credibility problem. Because as we said last hour, they're not calling him for him to step aside from the presidency. And do you know why that is, by the way? because then Kamala Harris becomes president immediately. She would obviously get all of Biden's delegates. And they know she would lose too. They don't care who's running the country. All they care about is running the next election and winning. All they care about is holding on to power. They don't care about governing, and that's been made crystal clear over the past 4 days. But beside the obvious issues with fundraising, and by the way, in private donor calls, these leaks are starting to come out. In private donor calls, donors are actually asking for their money back from the Democrat Party. This is a disaster any way you slice it. No matter what they do, they are in deep, deep, deep trouble. But I think now, as you're seeing the narrative start to shift again, you're seeing Democrats grapple with the reality that they're stuck with Biden. When we come back, I am going to prove to you that the narrative is shifting and Democrats are going to go back to what they've been doing for the past 4.5 years with Biden. And that's to gaslight you into believing that what you see is not actually what you see. You must reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It is the party's final, most essential command.
Conservative thought, not just talk. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One.
Coming back to Las Vegas, September 20th and 21st. Streaming live only on Hulu.
A weekend full of superstar performances.
Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com.
Hey, pool season fanatics, your summer persona is calling. It's time for sun-soaked party scenes at MGM Grand, new luxury cabanas at Bellagio, and sandy beach living at Mandalay Bay. Show off your poolside only with MGM Rewards. Visit MGMRewards.com for details.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell here for the Lynch family of dealerships. Over the last 75 years, the Lynch family has understood the value of a relationship with their own customers, their employees, and also their community. That's just one of the reasons they've been awarded a top workplace award for the 5th consecutive year. Happy employees provide top-level service, and if you're tired of the same old car buying experience and want to be treated like family, let them show you the Lynch difference. With Lynch certified, every qualified vehicle comes with peace of mind in the form of a 3-month, 3,000-mile certified warranty. Lynch Protected covers your windshield, road hazards, and paint for 1 year. With locations in Burlington, Kenosha, West Bend, and 3 stores in the McWanago community, Lynch is easy and convenient to find. Come and get treated like family and experience the Lynch difference, or find them online at shoplynch.com.
We've got a problem with the Cutler sofa at Penny Mustard.
People climb into it.
Yeah?
And they refuse to get out.
We need a warning sign. Saying what?
Before sitting on the Cutler sofa, make sure you have snacks, remote controls, iPad chargers, and a big old comfy throw.
Also, clear your calendar for the foreseeable future.
The Cutler sofa, starting at just $237 a month with only 1 penny down and no interest till July of 2026 through July 7th at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it will be worth less than $700,000. That's the effect of out-of-control government spending shrinking your hard-earned dollars, and it's why central banks and savvy investors are buying gold. For thousands of years, gold has withstood war, famine, and economic downturns. It's been a stalwart hedge against inflation and hyperinflation. And the company Buck Sexton trust to help you diversify into gold is Birch Gold Group. For 2 decades, Birch Gold has helped concerned Americans convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold, too.
To learn more, text the word SECURE to 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, text SECURE to the number 989898 to protect your hard-earned savings today.
Never underestimate Democrats' ability to just shift the narrative on a dime. You saw that Thursday night. The narrative shifted from all of those videos showing Biden in obvious cognitive decline, wandering off, needing to be led off the stage by his hand by former President Barack Obama. Those were cheap fake videos. They're deliberately edited to make President Biden look enfeebled when he's actually at the top of his game. That shifted in a heartbeat on Thursday night. Suddenly, Biden wasn't just lost on the debate stage. He didn't just lose the debate. He had already lost the presidential election. He's so obviously enfeebled, he needs to be removed from office. Oh, wait. No, they don't care about who's actually running for president or who's actually serving as president. They only care about not losing the presidency, because what they know, the biggest secret of all, is that the bureaucratic state, the millions and millions and millions of good Democrats who are firmly entrenched, burrowed in their positions in the federal bureaucracy, are the actual power behind the throne. So they don't care about governing. The government governs itself, which is a terrifying, truly terrifying thought. But what they care about is holding on to power. The narrative shifted. We're not going to hold on to power. Joe, for the good of the country, to save democracy, needs to step down. Well, I think that narrative is shifted again. I think the reality is dawning on Democrats that it is very difficult to replace Biden, and that if they do, Trump is probably still going to win. He's polling much stronger against Kamala Harris even than he is against Joe Biden. The Kamala Harris problem is real. You cannot just push her aside. She would not go quietly into that good night. And if you think Democrats are struggling amongst black voters, you would see an open revolt. You're telling me not only would they pass over the first woman president, but the first black woman president? Come on. So now that narrative is shifted again. Nancy Pelosi, I think, signaled on, I believe it was Meet the Press yesterday, might have been the Margaret Brennan CNN or CBS show. She said, it was just a bad night. Everybody's freaking out. They're overreacting. It was a bad night. We see Joe every day, and he's fine.
We see Joe Biden up close. We know how attuned he is to the issues, how informed he is. And I debate with him about legislation, and not debate, but discuss it with him. He's right there. So in any case, it was a bad night. Let's not sugarcoat that. It was a bad night. It was a great presidency. And that's what the American people have to choose. A night where somebody's going to just misrepresent the facts completely, and then you're on your guard. The other person has to negate that. Or, again, it was a bad night. Let's move on from that.
Everybody just move on. It was a bad night. So now I think the default position is going to be, all right, we're stuck with Joe. We're going to continue to hide him. The campaign has already said, or it said months ago, this is essentially going to be a Jimmy Carter Rose Garden campaign, that Biden is not going to be doing a vigorous campaign schedule. In fact, he's got a very light schedule this 4th of July week. No real surprises there. But what the media is going to say is, look, he had a bad night. He was on cold. I've heard this excuse now. It was cold medicine. It made him loopy. It made him slow. Look, hasn't anyone, you accidentally took NyQuil instead of Dayquil. It's happened to everybody. It happens. Look, that was the reason. It was a bad night. Look, he's vigorous. He's between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. just fine. That story leaked over the weekend to Axios. The White House clearly saying, hey, President, there's no issues here. Between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., he does just fine. They're literally admitting that he sundowns, that as dementia patients usually do, they get confused, they get tired, things start to fall apart for them as the sun goes down. It's called sundowning. They're literally admitting that. After 4 p.m., it gets a little dicey. And then you saw at the G7, there was a report from the G7 meeting that world leaders were just fine. Biden, hey, he was great. They talked. He was off the cuff. He was until the very end. Do you know what he did? He finished by telling them the exact same anecdote that he started his little remarks with. That is a huge problem. But Pelosi, no. Guys, come on. It's actually Trump who has dementia.
This is an opportunity for Joe Biden to go out there and show he has the stamina and the rest. And by the way, while the press, and for some reason they don't, there are healthcare professionals who think that Trump has dementia, that his connection, his thoughts do not go together. But not only that he just lies, he doesn't even know the truth. So if we're just talking about mental acuity, let's be fair about it.
Let's be fair. Trump's actually, you guys, you need to look. What she is doing is signaling to the media that, hey, we're stuck with Biden. Let's make the issue again about Donald Trump. Biden's fine, you guys. You did not see what you saw. We'll be back to calling the debate a cheap fake video by the end of the week, because the more time that goes by, folks, the less likely it is that they're going to be replacing Biden. And this is why, ultimately, I think the better gamble, unless, and it is possible, unless you'll see polls this week. I would really be watching the polls next Sunday. The Sunday morning shows always come out with their respective networks' polls. I would be watching Sunday morning. What would that be? July 7th? July 7th. Watch those polls. If, in fact, I think it'll be, if it happens, it's probably going to be not this week, but probably next week. If Biden drops like 7 points, if Trump goes ahead by 10 points, 9-10 points in some of these polls, which is a distinct possibility, folks, you're going to see the real panic. And I think they're going to have a real frank discussion and start talking about bribing Biden. I don't know how you coerce him. I've heard people say, well, they'll just say, Dan, Joe, your son will go to prison for a long time. What the hell does he care? He's still the president until the end of his term. He can just pardon Hunter. Like, what are we talking about here? How could you possibly threaten or coerce a president to step down who doesn't want to step down? Remember, and Dan, at the convention, you see Democrats, the delegates could just rebel. No, on the first vote, the delegates are pledged to Joe Biden. There isn't a single delegate that was won by another candidate. Every single delegate to the convention on the first vote must vote for Joe Biden. Now, they could change party rules, to be sure, to make it an open convention. Remember, these are Biden loyalists who are the delegates. If he tells them, I'm not dropping out, vote for, just however you slice it, make no mistake, it is a massive, massive mess. And I am loving every single second of it. Ladies and gentlemen, quite candidly, this has been the most fun few days of radio I've had in quite some time. Back to it after the commercial break in just a second. Hey, Dan O'Donnell here for my great friends at Mander Collision and Glass. Now, with 6 locations to serve you, you hear me talk about how great Mander is, their work ethic, their customer service. Here's customer Hank. Took my Corvette in for a new windshield with camera in the glass. Their tech knew everything and did a great job. Everyone there was friendly and helpful. I loved the modern and very neat waiting area. Thank you, guys. Finally, even the bathroom was very clean. This is a very professional, family-run business. When I need any more work done, I'm coming here. Peter, you're the best. He even brought this old man an armchair so I could sit and work on my laptop. The receptionist was very quick to say hello and knew everything about my job. Thank you. No, thank you, Hank, for reminding me and everyone about the Mander difference. Start your repair today at mandercollision.com. That's mandercollision.com.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules.
Well, that's why you have to check out our website. We're pretty proud of our before and after photos because they show off just how good we really are. I can confidently say that whatever you bring us, we're going to use every bit of magic we have to turn it into a one-of-a-kind work of art. So if you're looking for the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. Mullally finishing.com. If it's worth restoring, we're going to tell you. If it's not worth the cost of restoring, then we're going to give you an honest answer. You don't stay in the furniture finishing business for nearly 50 years unless you're honest and talented. Luckily, we're both, and that means all of your expectations will be met. So if you want only the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. We're no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts.
I'm Brett Ochtenhagen, host of the Designer Yard Show and owner of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services. Do you love your landscaping? Do you appreciate the perfect blend of plants, stone, and wood that embraces your home? Do you delight in sitting on your patio with a cool drink, taking in the beauty of your backyard? If you answer yes, then we have a lot in common. Now, one more question. Does all of this beauty disappear when the sun goes down? Since 1994, the experts at Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services have been creating beautiful landscaping that can and should be enjoyed even after dark. If the beauty and pleasure of your landscaping disappears when the sun goes down, you should consider a fully automatic landscape lighting system. The experts at Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services are gifted at creating deliciously soft, subtle nighttime scenes. To schedule a meeting with one of our lighting designers, please call 262-392-3444 or look for us online at seasonalservices.com.
Grind and Go's crews help hundreds of people finally forget that tree every week. Grind and Go's state-of-the-art online stump calculator allows you to enter the size of your stumps, where they're located, and instantly receive an estimate. grindandgostumps.com.
Do you remember that electric moment when you suddenly realized that she was the one?
The one you were going to love forever.
The one you'd been waiting your whole life to meet.
She is the one.
The one.
Now it's time to find the one engagement ring that sparkles like she does.
Come to Kessler's Diamonds. We have a collection of incredibly special diamond engagement rings called the One Collection.
You need one special engagement ring for the one woman you will ever love.
Kessler's Diamonds is the one jewelry store where you can find the One Collection.
And Kessler's is the one store that offers the world-famous, no excuses, no fine print, lifetime warranty on every diamond engagement ring we sell.
We have the freedom to do this for you because Kessler's Diamonds is the one diamond store owned by its employees.
The One Collection starts at just $550.
Welcome to Kessler's.
Find the Kessler's nearest you at Kessler'sDiamonds.com.
My friends, I do check out my local endorsements ahead of time because I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction. And the honesty, the integrity, and the unflagging competence of Engine and Transmission Exchange that I and WISN listeners have experienced for many years now really is special. ETE employs an established, experienced group of people who can service any vehicle, any make, any model. They accurately diagnose your problem and will always work to save you money while doing the repair right. Elizabeth leaves a 5-star review saying, "We've been taking our cars there for years and Damon has always been amazing. Last time he saved us over $9,000 from what the dealership quoted." Michael says, "I've been using ETE for longer than I can remember and I've never been dissatisfied. They fix the problem and don't overcharge." Eric might sum it up best. "Outstanding service at a reasonable price. We couldn't recommend them enough for the quality work they do." Nor could I. Engine and Transmission Exchange has easy drop-off times, clean, bright waiting areas, and they'll work around your schedule too. See enginetrans.com for details. Enginetrans.com. It's Engine and Transmission Exchange.
Get your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval to buy at ACCUNET.com.
The Medal of Honor is the highest military decoration in the United States. Since it was established in 1861, there have been 3,517 people awarded with the medal. I'm Malcolm Gladwell, and our new podcast from Pushkin Industries and iHeartMedia is about those heroes. Listen to Medal of Honor, Stories of Courage on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search Medal of Honor, Stories of Courage.
The next generation is here.
The future is coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on.
This is the Dan O'Donnell Show.
So, Democrats seem to be handling the Trump immunity ruling well. Keith Olbermann. Well, thanks, Supreme Court. Now King Biden I can officially declare Trump a terrorist and officially imprison him, officially without trial and without consequences. Keith, table 14 needs a refill, my friend. Yeah, they're not handling this at all well. I also saw, when I happened to check X, Alex Berenson, fantastic reporter, he had a text from his friend or somebody, and he said, I am captivated watching this whole Biden thing. It's not so much a campaign imploding, but a scam unraveling. That is actually a perfect take, and it was a scam. Do you remember when Dean Phillips launched his primary campaign? It was actually, Dean didn't think he had any business running for president. He's, random congressman from Minnesota. It started as an effort to recruit somebody within the Democratic Party with the standing and with the political backing to actually mount a serious primary challenge to Biden, because Phillips noticed, he said, look, the guy is clearly not with it. It's time to pass the torch. The only reason Phillips ran, I was just reminded of this, was that other candidates didn't. Other candidates wouldn't step up. And apparently there was a report back at the time, like February, January, whenever he launched his campaign, December, that said privately some aides urged Phillips to keep agitating for a replacement to step forward because Biden has no business running in 2024. They all knew. Everyone who has been close to Biden, reports are coming out over the weekend that White House staff, do you remember the famous, we had so much fun with this when it happened. It was Easter of 2022. I believe it was Easter of 20, it might have been 21, where the aide dressed in the Easter bunny costume when Biden wandered over to start talking to reporters, started frantically waving his hands and said, no, Mr. President, actually physically escorted him away from the press. We were joking that the Easter Bunny is really the power behind the throne. The Easter Bunny is actually running the country. Apparently, Santa Claus is too busy, couldn't step away from his day job, so they had all the Easter Bunny really needs to do is hide some eggs, deliver some baskets. Santa's got to make all the toys, so I guess we recruited the Easter Bunny. Now the reports are coming out that even White House staff has been kept in the dark, that Biden is kept so separate that the family and very, very close aides, the one who I always thought was the gatekeeper to Biden was Ron Klain, who's been his longtime chief of staff. That's who I always just assumed was running the country. They have whoever Biden's most trusted aides are. And one of them, by the way, was rewarded with her own national TV talk show, Jen Psaki. His closest aides have been shielding him from anybody. Not that they didn't want anybody to know. They didn't want anybody to talk. They didn't want to get the anonymous reporting, someone going to Fox News or someone going to right-wing radio and saying, hey, the president is actually way worse than anybody is reporting. I'm with him every day. He is in severe cognitive decline. But anybody who's ever, do you remember the Nicole Wallace interview? MSNBC, this is maybe a year and a half ago. Biden just sort of got up and walked off. They were going to commercial break, and he just sort of got up and wandered off. This is not normal, and everybody has been able to see it. But the scam is unraveling now because they spent 3.5 years saying, no, he's just fine. When he was campaigning from his basement in 2020, even though he could have very easily gone out, they could have socially distanced, they pretended that he was just being responsible. He was just doing a good thing during COVID. Meanwhile, you've got Democrats gathering by the tens of thousands to burn down cities in the name of St. George the Pious, patron saint of fentanyl abuse, because a criminal got killed by a cop. Then COVID restrictions don't apply. Totally cool. Get out there and grab a torch. Loot a Foot Locker in the name of social justice. But no. Biden's just fine. You're insane for noticing that this is not a normal presidency. You're insane for noticing the president has almost no public events. You're insane for noticing that he just sort of disappears to Delaware for extended weekends pretty much every weekend. You're insane for noticing that the president has only been at work about 40% of the time that he should have been at work. Now, granted, I know the presidency is a job that really is 24/7. You're never really off the clock, right? But in as much as part of being on the clock requires you to actually be at the White House, he's never there. He's never engaged with the public. He gets his daily presidential briefing. Okay. When's the last time on the presidential schedule he met with his cabinet? Forget about, Dave goes, State of the Union. They were all there, except the designated survivor. Yeah, that's kind of a cabinet meeting. Okay. When is the last time? Forget about press conferences. Forget about interviews. When is the last time he has done 5 or 6 consecutive? Normally, you've got big campaign events. You've got Joe going, you've got the candidate going from here to there and crisscrossing the state and crisscrossing the country. When's the last time you saw that? When's the last time the president gave a televised address? Do you know when it was, by the way? Last time the president gave a primetime address, it was not the State of the Union, Dave. It was not. He gave a televised address the day the Robert Hur decision came down, the special counsel who decided that he couldn't be prosecuted because he was too senile. He went out and gave a disastrous press conference because he was sundowning. He was angry. He couldn't remember the name of the church where he got his son Beau's rosary. He couldn't remember anything. He had to do a primetime address to convince the American people back in, what was that, February, March, that he wasn't senile. But you're crazy for noticing. It's a scam. It has always been a scam, and now it's blowing up in their faces. And let me tell you, when you have lost Chuck Todd, you've truly lost the American left. We'll get to the audio soundbite next here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Classical conservatism, contemporary style. This is the Dan O'Donnell Show. It's not hype to underscore the obvious. The 2024 election cycle is critical to the future of our country and to the American experiment itself. At News Talk 1130 WISN, we're committed to cover everything that impacts this election and to do so with clarity, coherence, and unapologetic candor. It's up to the voters to support freedom and liberty, and it's up to us to provide them with information and perspective. For complete coverage of Decision 2024, trust us. News Talk 1130 WISN.
In this week's Marketers Report, we learn about the value of local influencers in uncertain times. From Allison Griffin, Head of Marketing at State Farm.
The economy is tough for everyone, and taking a step back and understanding the pain that your customers are currently going through because of a tough environment is really important. We have 19,000 agents across the country, and they understand what's going on in those very unique communities. iHeart has such a broad broadcast reach that is local, connected, and for us to be able to touch customers with a local feel but at a national scale is so efficient and important for us.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to all, from national to local, every audience, live conversations, trusted influencers, and the insights and data you need to grow. Not just a media company, iHeartMedia is your access company. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
At Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, we have finance options for new exterior remodeling projects for almost anybody. And if you have the right credit, we'll beat your bank's rate.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 255368. At Wisconsin's own AccuNet Mortgage, our closing costs are typically $1,000 to $3,000 less than the banks or the mortgage guys with the Rocket for exactly the same rate. Find out how much you can save at accunet.com.
If you're someone who's experiencing shoulder, spine, hip, knee, or musculoskeletal pain and a total joint replacement might be in your future, think Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Their physicians specialize in same-day total joint replacements at their own ambulatory surgery center. See orthowisconsin.com.
Need to sell your home fast? Metro Milwaukee Homebuyer can help you with that. Get cash for your home quick, no matter the reason you're selling it or the condition it's currently in. Visit MetroMilwaukeeHomebuyer.com and find out about how you can sell your home fast for cash.
Hi, I'm Mike Madsen, owner of Color Wheel Painting. When you hire a painter, what are you really looking for? Is it straight lines? Good coverage? Is it really about quality painting? Or are those things just inherent expectations? Of course they are. Years ago, I figured it out. Color Wheel's success is about way more than the high quality work we do. It's about you feeling safe and respected in your own home. It's about you trusting our geek level expertise to do the work. It's about you receiving our courtesy around your family, being kind to your dog, and cleaning up well, because you don't need another mess. Ultimately, it's the experience, front to back and back again. And so, while there are a lot of people who can kind of paint, they can't do what Color Wheel does to make you feel great about every dollar you spend. There's only one Color Wheel Painting, so look no further. RemodelandPaint.com, that's RemodelandPaint.com.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it will be worth less than $700,000. That's the effect of out-of-control government spending shrinking your hard-earned dollars, and it's why central banks and savvy investors are buying gold. For thousands of years, gold has withstood war, famine, and economic downturns. It's been a stalwart hedge against inflation and hyperinflation. And the company I, Buck Sexton, trust to help you diversify into gold is Birch Gold Group. For 2 decades, Birch Gold has helped concerned Americans convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold, too.
To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, text PROTECT to the number 989898 to protect your hard-earned savings today.
Does every mother count? Because not every mother survives. Last year, in the U.S. alone, 1,200 moms died from complications of pregnancy and childbirth, and they're in the U.S. compared to white women, making the U.S. one of the most dangerous high-resource countries in the world to give birth. Join Every Mother Counts at everymothercounts.org to help ensure that everyone has timely access to quality, respectful, and equitable maternity care. If we all come together, we can ensure that every mother really does count.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Do you remember Brian Stelter? He was the host of Reliable Sources, and I heard him described as the media's janitor, which is a great description. Whenever somebody in the press, and this was during the Trump era, I believe he was fired a couple of years ago, when the now departed CNN, Chris Licht, went in and cleaned house, and they got rid of him. They got rid of, was it Harwood? They got rid of a whole bunch of raving left-wing lunatics. And of course, the remaining raving left-wing lunatics at CNN revolted when he dared to do a town hall with President Trump. That was the last straw. But Brian Stelter would come on every Sunday on his show, the ironically titled Reliable Sources. And he would basically be anything but reliable. He was the media's janitor. He would just tout the left-wing line. Well, they brought back Stelter on CNN's Sunday morning show. He occasionally still does appearances on the network. And he, I think further signaled the narrative shift. Look, Biden had a bad night, but he's got a good heart. And Trump's just a degenerate liar.
Look, if you're in a battle between someone who lies really confidently versus someone who mostly tells the truth but really incoherently, the confident liar is always going to win. And I think many millions of Americans who don't want to see Trump reelected were yelling at their TVs, wanting Biden to fight back harder, wanting to see an actual debate, an actual fight. They didn't get that. They came away disappointed. And it makes me wonder if there will be any more debates at all.
Yeah, my guess is there will not be. Chuck Todd recently deposed as host of Meet the Press, nonetheless on Meet the Press. That had to be awkward. Talking about, as a member of the panel, talking about how exactly Democrats are going to allow this. It's in, and Todd sort of picks up on the point that I led off this radio show with, saying, look, forget about what's in the Democrats' best interest. Is it not in the best interests of the country to have a president who's actually mentally capable of governing?
Democrats want to lecture Republicans for putting party over country and how they've been enabling of Donald Trump. Mitch McConnell is frequently criticized for that moment where he decided to prioritize not dividing his own party and letting Trump off the hook by not voting to convict him during the impeachment. Can Democrats really sit there and say, you know, this is not about whether you think Biden can win the election. He might be able to win the election. It's not because he's Joe Biden. It's because he's not Donald Trump. The real issue is he telling the truth about whether he can serve a full 4 years? And there's a lot of challenges in the world. We want a president who could be incapacitated. This is one of those where you got to say to yourself, this is hard. There's no doubt. There's risk no matter what you do here. But you got to say to yourself, what's in the best interest of the country, not the party? What's in the best interest of the country in the next 4 years?
Democrat, forget about the next 4 years. How about the next 4 months? Can this man still govern? I think the answer is no. If he can't run for president, he can't be president. I don't think there's any question. Actually doing the job is probably a lot more difficult than getting driven around and giving a speech or two a day and being seen and photographed at a diner having a scoop of ice cream. But no, they clearly are proving that they don't care about the country. They don't care about, and this is why, oh my gosh, the Supreme Court just ruled Trump is a king. Trump can do whatever he wants. Okay, you're so outraged by that, but you have no problem in a theoretical presidency where Trump would assassinate his political so now the president could have SEAL Team 6 assassinate his You people are, this is utter insanity. So in this crazy hypothetical, we care about the president's behavior so much that we're having a Category 5 freak-out hurricane over this. But at the same time, we're saying that we think the current president is so mentally enfeebled that he's going to lose election, but he can't govern, and that's totally fine. We don't care about his actual job as governing the country. We only care about whether or not he's going to cost us an election. This is just, this is why this is the most disingenuous group of people you will ever come across. And as for this immunity ruling, all the insane hypotheticals, what could the president do? What could the president do? This ruling, and I've been pretty much throughout each commercial break trying to read a little portion of it. I got Sonia Sotomayor's dissent. I am telling you, this woman, it's not even close. She's the dumbest member of the Supreme Court. It is, to my mind, it is not even close. She does not, KJP doesn't know what a woman is. Oh, yeah, Ketanji Brown Jackson, KBJ, not KJP, KBJ. She's up there. She didn't know what a woman was because she's not a biologist. Okay. I think that's more wokeness. Sotomayor, in every one of her dissents, cites essentially her own judgment as a wise Latina. Remember, she was the one who famously said, sometimes you need a wise Latina to see things that, white men can't? So she imports her own basic sense of what's right and substitutes that for actual constitutional analysis. The framers clearly intended a president to be immune from prosecution for acts within the scope of his presidency. We didn't envision an imperial presidency. The check on the president is that he has Congress, he has a Supreme Court. There are inherent checks on limitless power, something that is outside the scope. Yes, clearly declaring Joe Biden a terrorist and having the army nuke him is not within the affair. The fact that we're even talking, so now he can designate Trump as a terrorist? Yes, obviously, that is within the official scope to win an election, murdering your opponent. Yes, Keith Olbermann, very good, very sane take. There is no... Folks, I am going to ask for... You need to show the left some leeway. This is a very difficult time for them, so they're going to be freaking out extra hard. And one of their least favorite days, the 4th of July, is coming up. Are we going to see a return of the hashtag America was never great, like we saw 4th of July 2016 when people were ripping on Trump's Make America Great Again? Oh, yeah, the New York Times writer, is that Mara Gay, who said when she sees flags, when she sees American flags, she gets real scared because that represents racism. Yeah, so it's a tough time for the left, but we here on the Dan O'Donnell Show will be documenting every hilarious second of it. Talk to you tomorrow.